Hey, DIY Duke here. Today we're going to be cutting down a tree, a dead tree, that's presenting a hazard to the house that's nearby and a potential hazard down the road if wind was to come up and blow it over, as well as dead branches coming down on children. So let me show you this tree. It's right here. It's an old fir tree and it's clearly dead. But the proximity to this home is what can present a hazard. Obviously, if we step back, we can see that this tree is definitely leaning away from the house. However, you know how winds get, they can whip stuff around. It could actually move this tree back into the house. Irregardless, it needs to come down for more than one reason. Aesthetically, too, it's dead, and it just doesn't look very good next to these two live trees. I have 7 years experience as a timber faller, so I'm going to be doing this myself. However, if you don't feel confident to do it, go ahead and get a professional. But I would like to show you how it's done just in case you decide to do it yourself. Let's go over some of the equipment we'll need to actually fell this tree. First thing that comes to mind when you're a timber faller or you're going to fall your own tree is a chainsaw. This one's definitely overkill for it, but this is the one I have. And I must point out, a sharp chain. Some people try to cut a tree down with a dull chain. They can't figure out what the problem is. So the chain sharpening thing is a whole nother issue, whole nother video. Also, if you're going to be doing more than one tree, you're going to need fuel and bar oil. This one's all full. A full tank's going to take care of this tree very easily. If the tree was leaning towards the house, we would have to use a wedge to get it back away from the house. Fortunately, this tree is not leaning towards the house. It's leaning the opposite direction. That's going to be great. Earplugs, because those chainsaws are loud. A pair of gloves. Chaps. These are Kevlar. They will protect your legs in case this chain were to somehow get near your legs. These are actually required by law if you're a timber faller in many areas, including the state of Oregon where we're at. As well as a hard hat, because we don't know what might come loose up there. I've seen people get hit by stuff coming out of a dead tree, even a live tree, and a hard hat will save your life. Much like riding a bicycle, motorcycle, this is head protection. And of course, eye protection, I prefer these, just because they're cool. Anyway, I want to point out one more thing. Most chainsaws will come with a chain brake. Hear that click? That means the brake has kept this chain from moving. That's the chain brake. You notice no matter how fast that chain's going, that puppy will stop it on a dime. You don't know how many times people's legs, shoulders, arms, face have been saved from this. It happens with kickback. If you were to hit the nose of that chain on that tree somehow, accidentally or whatever, that chainsaw is going to violently come back toward your face. And I've seen guys with scars on their face. It's hit their hard hat first and went ahead and got them in the face. Your hand will hit that chain brake and stop that chain. A really, really good safety feature to have on a chainsaw. So at this point, I think we have all we need. We can check the tree out. It's good to just give it a glance, a good once over. And you have to realize that once you put the chainsaw in there, vibration begins and it can vibrate something out and fall on you. So look at it real carefully to make sure there's not something hung up that may come down on you. Another thing is check the lean. Some people will even put a plumb bob on a tree, which is the weight on a string, just to tell where it's leaning. Normally trees will grow towards the sun. It's kind of their natural tendency. However, this one decided to kind of do something different. It grew out this way. It's kind of trying to come back that way, but fortunately it passed away before that happened. Sad, sad, sad. So let's get started. And the first thing we're going to do is put a face cut. So we're talking about a face cut, and what a face cut is, it provides an opportunity for the tree to hinge and go in the direction you want it to fall. So the face cut will be a wedge that you cut out of it. And we want the tree to fall basically through that opening. So the face cut will end up being in that direction. Another thing they did with chainsaws is on the side, you normally use the fall from, they put a line. And that's the line that the tree will fall if the face cut is centered on that line. So that's a falling line. So once we start the face cut, there's two different kinds. There's the Humboldt and the conventional. The Humboldt is if you come in straight and you come up from the bottom to make the face cut. In that way, if you're using the timber for merchandise somehow, merchantable timber, there won't be a cut in the butt. The conventional cut goes in and then comes down from the top. Obviously, the conventional cut takes out some of that merch timber from the top. So most people will use a Humboldt face cut, but if you're not going to save it, it's going to be firewood, don't worry about it. If it's easier for you to make a conventional cut, just come down from the top. So we're going to go ahead and start the chainsaw. This one has a compression release, which is nice, and a choke, and make sure the switch is on. Sometimes it'll be off and you'll crank and crank and crank. Just go, what's wrong with it? So when you do the face cut, you're going to go in about 1/3 of the tree's width. That's plenty far. That'll give it enough hinge area to close up on that space you're creating. So we're going to go ahead and do a Humboldt. So at this point, we're ready to fall this tree. And this will be called the back cut. We want to make sure we don't go below our face cut. The reason why, sometimes if you cut too far, the tree will have nothing to stop it from busting off of the stump backwards. And that can be very dangerous. Also, if you cut the tree off the stump, it has no hinge wood. So we're going to try to leave a little bit of wood in the center. That will cause a hinge effect and it will control the tree's fall. Without that, the tree can go anywhere. So keep that in mind as you fall. Take your time. Check where your bar, your chain is going to hit here and over there. Don't go below that. You can go above that, which is fine. That will create that little bit of wood that'll prevent that kickback of the tree. So it went the right direction. That's always a good thing. One thing I want to point out too is the fact that this tree is solid. Sometimes as you go into the face cut, you'll see there's some rot. That can change everything because if there's not enough wood there to control, just be aware of that. You can still get it down, but be very, very cautious about how much wood you cut. Now this portion right here, that's the hinge. There's leftover wood that broke off. You can see it here. I cut a little bit here because I wanted it to maintain that direction. And this is the hinge wood right here. So that's perfect. And if you're gonna use it for lumber, you haven't wasted any out of the butt with a conventional cut. So at this point, hey, we didn't hit the house and we didn't hit that pickup and we didn't get killed, so it's a good day. So now we're gonna go ahead and use the chainsaw to buck this up, is the term, cutting it to length. And if you want some nice lengths, you're gonna use a tape measure. This is a Fuller's tape, which you just simply stick in the tree, and then you can get the measurements that you need. But we're going to cut it up for firewood, which we'll still use this. We'll cut it about 16 inches, delimit and all that. But be aware too, the danger hasn't passed. You can still get hurt really bad by sawing limbs and bucking it up. Just be careful. Always be aware where that chain is. Always. Another thing to remember too, once the tree starts to go and you know it's going the right way, get the hell out of there, because anything can come flying back. And I mean, if you just stand here by the stump and watch the tree, you don't know what might whip back. It might brush that tree, whip something back, something might fall. The stump may shoot back at you. Just get out of the area, then watch it fall. That's the safest way to do it. So, the tree's done. We're live. This is DIY Duke. See you next time.